Good day, fellow readers and writers. My name is Megan J. Collins, and welcome to my channel. If you're a returning subscriber or this is your first time, I'm so glad to have you here. Currently, I have been doing a series revealing my character questionnaires for the characters in my book, Jaeger, a book that I plan to publish one day. In the process of revealing those character questionnaires, I thought it'd be fun to show you how to make a character questionnaire for your own stories. If you already know the importance of a character questionnaire and already set in your decision to make one, you can skip forward to this timestamp to get to the actual questions. Okay, for all of you guys still watching, let's get into the importance of a character questionnaire. A character questionnaire is a list of questions that you ask a character, kind of like an interview. It lets you get to know your character on a deeper level, to get to know how they think and who they are as a person, or whatever creature it is that you are writing about. But a character questionnaire does more than let you know the mechanisms of your character. It also gives you a written account of facts that you need to know. That way you don't accidentally create any big plot holes. For example, if you start a book by saying a character has blue eyes, but then by the end they have green, I'm looking at you, Rick, it's going to create a plot hole and your readers are going to get confused. Having a character questionnaire drastically helps you eliminate those kind of plot holes because you have a written account that does not change. Because be honest, even if you have the greatest memory in the world, you're still human and you're going to make a few mistakes every now and then. But a character questionnaire will help eliminate way more mistakes than you would make if you didn't have one. By not making those mistakes, your characters and your writing get to shine even better. Welcome back to everybody who skipped ahead. Character questionnaires are so fun to make, and I'm so glad to be sharing with you how to make one. One important thing to know about a character questionnaire is you don't need to make one for every single character. For example, say your characters take a ride in a taxi. You don't need to make a character questionnaire about the taxi driver if he has no purpose in the story. We as the reader do not need to know that he is cheating on his wife Edith with his sweetheart Kate and that he has a second family up in Wyoming with her. We don't need to know that if it has no purpose to the story. And even more, you don't want to be wasting your precious writing time to make questionnaires for characters that have no substance to the story. Trust me, I know, character questionnaires are so fun. I personally have made probably more character questionnaires than I need for Jaeger just because I like doing them, especially if I'm bored but I'm in a creative mood but don't want to write. Character questionnaires are great to help stimulate some creativity. With that being said, it is important to know which characters do need a character questionnaire. For a very bare bone list, I would say definitely your main character and your main villain. I know not every book has a villain, but if your book does, they will need a character questionnaire. That way you get to know why they are doing what they're doing. If your book has several main characters, each one of them will also need a character questionnaire. I would also highly recommend making character questionnaires for the sub-main cast. Take for example Harry Potter. Harry Potter and Voldemort hands down need a character questionnaire. But the sub-main characters, Hermione and Ron, and the sub-main villain, Draco, would also need a character questionnaire just because they play such a large role in the story. With that being said, please like, comment, and subscribe, and let's get into the questions that you should be asking your characters. First, the basic questions. These include questions like first name, last name, middle name, date of birth, and age. Also, nicknames. These are the easiest questions and are generally ones that you already know when you're writing, but having them written down makes sure that you're spelling everything correctly and just gives you a place in case you forget their age for some reason. That way you know for sure where to find it. The second category is their physical appearance. This includes their height, weight, build, eye color, hair color. Do they wear glasses? If so, what color are they? What shape? Do they like wearing glasses? Would they prefer wearing contacts? Do they have any distinguishing facial features? For example, my main character, Vice, she has a wider, flatter nose, whereas the other sub-main character, Asher, has very bright blue eyes. Features that would be described in this thing are the things that characters first notice when they look at them. For example, when you see Hermione, you notice her hair first. That would be a very distinguishing, I know that's not her face, but it's a very distinguishing appearance feature that everybody notices about her. Next is what is their skin color, race, and ethnicity. Do they have any scars, birthmarks, tattoos? And if so, where are they? What do they look like? And where do they get them? Next is what style of clothes do they wear? Do they fit a certain aesthetic? Do they wear active wear, professional wear, cottagecore, dark academia? What is their vibe? What can we usually imagine they'd be wearing, even if you're not describing their clothes every single time? Last in the appearance category is illnesses. Do they have any mental or physical illnesses? The answer to these questions are definitely going to be more important to the non-main characters, just because the main character, I'm assuming it's written in first person, is looking at the sub-main characters, but they are still important for you as the writer to know what your character looks like. Plus, it helps you imagine them better, which helps you be able to create them better. The third section is personality. This one is definitely going to be the most important to you as a writer. If you could only pick one category to write about, I would pick this category because it will allow you to see the character as they see themselves and not how the world or the facts of your character reflect them. This section also has the most questions, so you got a lot of questions that you get to answer about your character and discover them even better. Some basic ones are they optimistic, pessimistic, introverted, or extroverted? Do they like the indoors, outdoors? And do they make snap judgments or take time to consider? Do they display any bad habits, like biting their fingernails or something? How do they display affection? For me, whenever I'm reflecting on this character, I follow Gary Chapman's 5 love languages: words of affirmation, touch, gifts, service, and quality time. That took me the longest time. The next 3 questions will help you see how the character views themselves, how people view them, and how the world view them. They are: how do they want to be seen by others, how do they see themselves, and how do others actually see them? These questions really make you think about your character and gives you a very quick foundation of your character's personality, goals, and needs. If you don't want to answer all the questions on this character questionnaire, which I fully understand, there is a lot of questions, I would highly recommend at least answering those 3 because they will give you a 3D look on your character. Next, what is their strongest and weakest character trait? Are they competitive? And if so, how competitive are they? What do they do when they win? What do they do when they lose? How do they react to praise versus criticism? What's their greatest fear? What is their biggest secret? When was the last time that they cried? And how often do they cry? Or what is their personal feelings about crying? Is there a certain sense that they rely on, like sight, hearing, taste, smell, or touch? And why is that sense so important to them? Is there a certain quality that they look for in a friend? And why does that quality matter so importantly? And even more, do the friends that they have actually have that quality? If your character had an option to change one thing about them, what would they change and why? This could include both physical, mental, family, or anything to do with life. Basically whatever they're most insecure about. Do they have a weapon? And if so, what is it? Finally, we are on the last question of the personality category. I know it's very long, but I definitely saved the best one for last, because this one is a very special question. I literally call it the special question for a reason, because it's a question that can only be linked to your story. For example, the special question in Jaeger's questionnaires is, what do Jaegers smell like? Because in my books, Jaegers, 2 monsters, smell like their favorite meal. For that reason, that question can only be connected to my story. In another book that I plan to one day publish, the question is about a prophecy and asking if the characters believe that that prophecy is true or not. In your story, you can have this question be anything you want because it's something that can only be for your story. Say, for example, you're writing a murder mystery. The question would be, what is the character's connection to the murder victim or the perpetrator? This question can literally be anything. It is just yours and yours alone. The 4th category is friends and family. Who's in their family? Do they have any siblings, any pets? What is their perception on their family? Who's their best friend and why? Why is this person their best friend over another person? Lastly, who are their other friends? This section is definitely very much like the first two. It's very facts heavy, but it does let you know a bit more about why their personality is the way that it is because of their friends and family. From friends and family, we move on to the fifth category, past and future. If you need a flashback in your story, this will be where that flashback will be because it will give you all the information that you need to know. That way it doesn't change as the story progresses on. First being, what was your character like as a child? Did they grow up rich, poor, nurtured, or neglected? What is the most offensive thing that your character has done? For me, I find that question always the most difficult, especially for characters like a hero and stuff, just because it's hard to imagine your character doing something really offensive if they're supposed to be such a good person. But it does allow you to see your character as a person, that they make mistakes, and it lets you see their flaws. That way, as the story progresses, hopefully they can improve those flaws and become a better person. The next question is, what was your character's first kiss like, and who was it with? What was their childhood ambition versus what it is now? Has it changed since they were a child? Will it change throughout the story? And if so, why? One thing to note about the character questionnaires is typically when I write them as only pertaining for the first book. Sometimes I will put like a second paragraph for how the question might change by the end of the series, but I would highly recommend just picking one timeline, either the first book. Hopefully, the first book usually works the best because that's where you're introducing the characters. But the first book, that way you have a consistent timeline on where all the questions are taking place. What is their best and worst childhood memory? If they could go back in time, what time would they want to go back to and why? And lastly, for the last question in this section, has anyone saved their life? If so, who was it? And how did their relationship change after that fact? You can also put in if somebody saves their life later on if you want to also include that. The sixth category is love. This category includes questions like, are they in a relationship? How do they behave in a relationship? And if they're not, do they want to be in a relationship? What is their feelings on love and everything like that? Has your character ever been in love? And have they ever had their heart broken? Thankfully, you guys are over halfway done with the character questionnaire. You're one step closer to being a master of character questionnaires and being able to create layers to a story that will get your readers just sucked in. The seventh category is work, education, and hobbies. What is their current job and what do they think of it? Their current job can be going to school if that is what they are doing. I know for me, like half of my characters are listed as going to high school and whatnot. What is their past jobs and did they like them? Why did they leave them? In their free time, what do they like to do? Do they have a certain hobby? I know sometimes it can be very hard to figure out a character's hobby because as a writer, generally our hobbies are writing, so we don't usually try other things. But I will put a link to a website down below in the description for a list of hobbies that you could give your character. What is their educational background and do they have any degrees or hobbies? And do they have any specialized training? For example, one of the characters in Jaeger, Sawyer, really likes archery and he went to an archery camp and got really good at it. Basically, you can think of section 7 as your character's resume. The next question is, do they play in any sports or did they play a sport growing up? Did they like it? What do they think about it? Is there a certain sport that they wish they had played? And lastly, what languages do they know? Can they speak them, write them, and read in them? The 8th category is favorites. What's their favorite and least favorite animal? What's their favorite color, food, days of the week, and why? What places would they most like to visit? Where would they like to travel? If they have already traveled, what places have they been to? And what places would they like to go to again? The 9th category is possessions. What's in their fridge? Do they have any vegetables? Takeout? Is it always full or empty? What's on their bedside table and why are those things there? What's in their car? Is it clean? Is it dirty? What is the model of car or the make that they drive? If they don't have a car, would they want one? And if so, what car would they like to have? What is in their pockets, and what is their most treasured possession and why? And depending on the time period, what does their phone case look like? And does it reveal anything about their personality? Also, what kind of apps do they have? What is their screen time that they're usually on it? It's a lot of like just the little things that add so much more depth to your character and really let readers see that they are a person. The 10th category is spirituality. Are they religious? And if so, how strong are their beliefs? And if they're not, why aren't they? Are they superstitious? And if so, what are they superstitious about? How would they like to die? And how wouldn't they like to die? Plus, what do they believe happens after death? What would they like to be reincarnated as? And do they believe in that stuff? And what is their spiritual animal and zodiac sign? If you know their birthday, the zodiac sign will be very easy to know the answer for that question. The 11th category is daily life. What are their eating habits? Are they on a diet? Do they eat 3 meals a day? Do they have certain eating habits? Like, do they have to eat kosher? Are they vegan, vegetarian, anything like that? Also, do they have any allergies? And if so, how severe are they? What is their home like? Is it messy, clean? What style of house do they live in? Like, is it cottage or is it cookie cutter? And how many bedrooms and bathrooms do they have? That way you can remember how big you made the house. Are they a minimalist or are they a clutter hoarder? What is their weekday and weekend schedule? Is it consistent or does it change all the time? And what is their favorite and or favorite alcoholic drink? And do they drink coffee, tea, or neither? And if so, do they have a certain favorite flavor? Finally, we're on the 12th and the last category, miscellaneous. Questions that I just don't really know where to put them. They're kind of just random. They're also more just fun questions, so if there's a category that you want to skip, this would definitely be it, but it's definitely a nice, fun little reward. After you've answered all the first 11, you just get to have fun and enjoyment with this last category. First, who is their hero? Is it their mom, dad, their best friend? Who would they call for help? And who is the one person that they would always save? What would your character dress up as for Halloween? And if they won the lottery, what would they do with it? Or do they believe in gambling? What is their favorite and least favorite fairy tale and why? And if they were able to meet with a fortune teller, what would they ask them? And do they even believe in fortune tellers, or are they very skeptical about that whole stuff? Lastly, if they could have any superpower, what would it be? Congratulations! You guys now have a fully fleshed out character with so much more depth than they did at the beginning of this video. I'll put a PDF down in the description below with a list of these questions, and that way you have a written form of it. Also, if you want to see a character questionnaire in action, you can go to my character questionnaire for Edelweiss Grant. I'll also put that down in the description, that way you can see it in action. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and see you in the next one.